Hey everyone, this is Satanno. Thanks for tuning in. This is the first in what I hope will be a long series of video logs where I intend to talk about games and gaming and just give my opinion about things, because apparently there's some people out there who think my opinion is worth listening to. I'd like to give a special shout to my friend Scott, who hooked me up with the camera and provided me with the first motivation to get this started, and also to my buddy the Bean Burrito for being a very powerful motivator with his enthusiasm. So I just hope I don't let you down. In short, I just want to tackle some topics about gaming that have captured my interest over the past couple of years being a gamer, and I just hope I can make something that's worth watching. In the future episodes, I hope to make this a little bit sharper. This is a first effort, so as you can see, I don't have any background for you or anything like that, although I do have something in the background there that, well, we'll talk about in just a moment. I'd like to jazz things up a little bit, so as I learn how to do this, I hope that you'll bear with me while it's pretty ghetto to start with. At any rate, today, as you can guess in the background there, I'd like to talk about Mass Effect, and especially Mass Effect 3. For those of you who don't know, Mass Effect has made quite a splash in the gaming community recently, as being a fine example of what role-playing truly can be in the video game sphere. In some, you play the role of Commander Shepard, you're out to save the galaxy, blase blase, and Mass Effect 3 has gained a great deal of controversy in recent weeks after its release because of basically what amounts to the shitty ending. In a nutshell, having spent several hundred hours over the course of the first two games and the third game, your character takes on many side quests and numerous interactions with various intergalactic species, making some serious choices, and the decisions of which are felt over the course of two games. However, at the denouement of the series, the grand finale here, where the Reaper forces are finally expunged from the galaxy, Commander Shepard is faced with a series of three choices, which in some ways are dictated for him based on his actions throughout the game. And many gamers feel that they have been ripped off, in that the decisions made throughout the course of the series have not made any serious impact on the ultimate finale of the galaxy and the series as a whole. So what happened? Well, again, as you may or may not know, numerous fans, legions of fans even, showered BioWare with a deluge of invective, and barrage of negative hate mail, basically demanding that BioWare change the ending of the game, alter the course of what happened over the previous two games to include that into what happened, and to provide what is maybe referred to as the true ending. So, what happened? Well, much to many people's surprise, BioWare caved. They released what is now known as the Extended Cut, which is a downloadable product, which is now available over PSN or XBLA or whatever it is that you get your Mass Effect fix through, which adds a series of vignettes and epilogues to the final scenes of the game, thereby fleshing it out. This is something which many other gamers may be familiar with in the vein of the Fallout series, a series which I have enjoyed since its very first inception as the Wasteland game, all the way up through its current form of New Vegas and so on. And I've also considered that to be really one of the shining examples of the finale of a role-playing game, in that the final sequences gave you the resolution of the myriad smaller stories that took place throughout the course of the game. I might point out that especially with the latest installments of the games, New Vegas and Fallout 3, the side quests and side character stories you took on, far more interesting than the main storyline themselves, which Mass Effect is also guilty of, at least insofar as Mass Effect 2 is concerned. That being said, the big picture that I have here, the big problem that I have, is the idea that the gaming community banded together to effectively force the producer, or the developer of the game, to release a new ending against against the initial wishes of the developer, and then basically altered what the original authorial intent of the game was. Now, there are a lot of different things to be said here. On the pro side, of course, this sounds like one of these major victories, that the developers are finally listening to what the gamers want. They're finally playing to the strengths of the medium, making the changes that many people believe will enhance the experience to create a better sense of continuity, and also to show that in the end the consumer is always right, that we get what we want, and if we scream loud enough, we can make these changes. Now, do I agree with this? To some degree, yes. I finished the game. First time, I did not download the extended cut. I played through it, I finished it, I saw the ending. Was it exactly what I wanted? No. Was it satisfying? Well, to one degree or another. I have my reservations about the writing. Regardless, this idea that if we scream loud enough and we scream hard enough, we're going to get what we want. Well, this makes sense up to a certain point. And I really think that the bigger issue here is not the fan reaction, but BioWare's reaction. Now, why do I say this? Well, basically, BioWare is telling its fan base, which is sizable, and the gaming community at large, because BioWare is such an influential developer, owned by EA, arguably the most influential publishing house, they've basically given them the background and the precedent to enable this kind of behavior in the future. What is this going to mean? Well, for starters, being the cynic that I am, I think this means that anytime any fan base is angry enough about something, there is going to be a never-ending torrent of this sort of behavior. And honestly speaking, I think this really sounds like a bunch of childish whining. I mean, let's just think about what's going to happen if we enable this kind of behavior in other media. Well, for starters, big Star Wars fan myself, am I going to join a cavalcade of individuals storming on Skywalker Ranch demanding that George Lucas change the original trilogy? Hell no. I hate the Ewoks as much as anybody else, but they are what they are, you take them for what they are, and you deal with it. I mean, we can go even further into the prequels here, a series which I would love to be able to scream and yell until it was eradicated from my memory. But it's not going to happen. It is what it is, and you have to deal with it. You have to trust that the producer of this content, whether it be a gaming developer or a film studio, is going to put out what they believe to be the best possible thing. And I'm not talking about things like bug fixes and patches and DLC, which retcons a bunch of history. I'm just talking about what they actually put out and say, this is how we want the game to be. Make of it what you will. And in caving to these demands, now they've opened the door. No one is ever going to be completely happy with the way something finishes or how it plays and so on. But complaining about it and screaming and yelling is perhaps the most juvenile way to approach it. Maybe it's effective, maybe it's not. Here I see we have a great example of why it is effective. But what is this going to mean in the future? Well, from my perspective, now what we've got is a situation where nothing is sacred and you never know when your favorite game or the storyline behind your favorite series is going to be radically altered because some vocal minority of people are going to scream loud enough that the developers are going to just want them to shut up. I don't think it's healthy. I don't think it's good both for the developers and the fan base, and I really don't think that it's something that's going to make the medium grow. I think what's going to make the medium grow and to make games stronger is for people to produce quality criticism instead of just blowing your top and going out there and just making a big stink, posting all kinds of angry things on the developer's website. Coming up with constructive criticism, coming up with reasonable statements, backing up your opinions, and making it clear that that is what you want to see. Changes are going to be made at a more fundamental level, and we're going to get more quality out in the end. And of course, in the very end, what's going to happen is if a developer like BioWare, or, I don't know, Irrational, or Gearbox, I don't know, comes up with something that you don't like, And if you don't buy their next game, or if you make it clear that you're not going to buy their next game because you don't like what they did, they're going to change that at a more meaningful level. They're going to put more thought into it. And with RPGs, like Mass Effect, you're going to see that the writing is going to be more quality from the start. And that, I think, is what's going to take things to the next level. I think that's when we're going to get back to the kind of writing that made BioWare famous in the first place, writing games like The Holy Grail, Planescape Torment with one of my favorite writers, Chris Avallone, doing things that are properly thought out, properly conceived, and well developed from their very start, rather than slapping a sort of almost like a bumper sticker onto the end of it and say, fine, here, shut up, right? It's going to be better if we approach it more constructively, because the beauty of this situation and basically what has happened here is that there's an interplay between the gamer and the producer, and when they come together in a meaningful way from the start, it's going to make everybody happier in the end. So that's the way I feel about this. I'm still playing my way through it. I've yet to see the actual extended cut ending to see what it's like, but in the end I don't think it's going to change my opinion in any significant way. So that's how I feel about that. I welcome any comments and criticisms. I apologize if my speech is a little bit slapdash. I'm just going through this the first time. I truly intend to be a little bit more polished in the future, but that's how I feel about it. Hope you'll join me again. In the meantime, a couple other points. For the next edition of my video log here, I'm very much interested in what you want to talk about. If there's something you think I might have an opinion on that you'd like to talk about, fully willing to engage that. Any suggestions for how I can make this look better and easier to watch, gladly. Complaints, criticisms, please, I welcome it. Tell all your friends. I like to talk about games. That's my thing. On a final note, if I can just rant for a minute, I've been reading a lot these days about how Zynga or whatever, the company responsible for Farmville and Mafia Wars and whatever ripoffs, their stock is going down in flames. And you know what? For as mean-spirited and vengeful as it sounds, I am so glad, because this is a company that has made their fortunes stealing and ripping off other people. Granted, it's legal, but there is such a tenuous legality to it. I think in any other media, there would not be this kind of division among legal authorities about it, and I think they're getting away with it hand over fist, and I hope they go down in flames. I have a little bit of sympathy for the people who work there, but you know what? They made that choice, and they're the ones who have to live with it. If they lose their jobs over it, well, I'm sorry. But hey, I'm sure you can find work somewhere else if you're a legitimate developer. In the meantime, down with Zynga. Thanks for watching, and I'll